back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
All right, what's up, everybody? This is the latest episode of the 1796 Sports Podcast. I got Normal Vol fan and Ryan with me, as always. Today, we would like to give a shout-out to our sponsor. Thank you to Grade A Grounds. They are a local coffee roasting company based out of Kingsport, Tennessee, run by Billy and Kurt. They're two teachers in the Johnson City area. And it's a really awesome company. So it's a coffee company, and their main goal is to give back to students in East Tennessee. So it's really cool. They donate 5% of all sales to a nonprofit that supports students all over the Tri-Cities called Coalition for Kids. So the money goes directly towards keeping a classroom at the Coalition for Kids stocked with necessary supplies. So it's good coffee for a great cause. And we will link to them in the description below. Check them out. It's local coffee, local guys, real cool. So thank you guys for sponsoring. And then we will get into some basketball. The basketball's got a big win this weekend. What'd y'all think about that, Jim?
Again, I mean, they start off slow. I feel like it's a repetitive thing. I mean, yes, we came out on top, which is great. Jordan Gainey really struggled this game, shooting-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, I feel like Vescovy is starting to come into form. But, you know, every time he has a game like this where he gives us a little sneak peek of, you know, hey, I'm back, you know, usually the next game he's got 4 fouls and he's out of the game the whole game. So I'm hoping, you know, that turns around. But other than that, really proud of the boys for pulling this one out. Back in the win column, you know, and onto easier games for right now, so we'll see.
Yeah, we had a slow start defensively, and Illinois' coach,
Brad Underwood.
There you go. He said that we were kind of throwing them curveballs early because we were kind of giving up the three, because those two post players that were hitting threes early, they're not good 3-point shooters. We were more focused on making sure Shannon Jr. didn't do anything, he's obviously their best player, and I think it showed later in the second half. But, you know, early on it looked like this game was going to be a all-out shootout. I mean, both teams were shooting terrifically up until the 4-minute, then it kind of slowed down from there until halftime. But Tennessee looked sluggish, and then we started to ISO connect, and Ziegler and Masek did their thing on defense, and we were able to build that lead and hold on to it till the end. So I'm pretty proud of the boys for getting a much-needed signature win that we were lacking early on in this season.
Yeah, I mean, like y'all said, it was a kind of a slow, sluggish start. And, you know, at the half, we were down by 2, 34-36. And we really came out on fire in the second and pulled away there. But, you know, a big part of it was Illinois, especially in the second half, couldn't buy a basket from deep. I mean, they shot 25% from three. So, obviously, you know, that's not going to happen every game. Your opponent isn't going to shoot that piss poor. But still, our guys made enough plays. Connect was back to his ways, you know, of leading the team in scoring. And then Adu had another good game. Nobody really is talking about that, but that's 2 really solid performances in a row for Adu. So I'm wondering if he's maybe like, you know, finally feeling the rhythm, like getting in the groove. And like you said, Vescovy, which that's probably the most surprising stat from the game, is Vescovy led the team in rebounds.
Yeah.
But, hey, however you can get them. Masek had a nice little offensive game. So, yeah, it was a pretty all-around game. I mean, overall, this is probably what you are going to need going forward, like in these, like, tough games against good ranked teams. This is the type of performance you're going to need, where everybody contributes a little bit. Like you said, Gainey he's been disappointing for the last, like, 3 or 4 games. But Connect, you know, had 21, ADU had 14, Triple J 12, 6, and 7. That's just the kind of all-around performance we're going to need from here on out.
For sure. I mean, it's just nice to see all the starters in double figures too. I think that's going to be a big trend with this team moving forward as well. And talking about Vescovi, it just looked like he was having fun for the first time in a while. I mean, he hit that fadeaway 3 from the corner, and then a few possessions later, he had that dish to Meshack for an easy bucket on a fast break. And after both of those plays, just the biggest smile you've ever seen. I mean,
that 3 was nuts. That 3 is like something you try in your driveway like 100 times.
Yeah, and he can do it, and I'm glad he did it because we need that kind of confidence and swagger back from him.
Yeah, I don't know. One of you guys said it last week. We don't really know like what was going on with him at the beginning of the season, that off the field thing he was doing, off the court thing he was dealing with. But that was, who knows what effect that had on his mentality. But it seems like he's finally back to his old self from last year. It's really good to see, obviously off the court and on the court.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's needed. I mean, Vescovi's, other than probably Triple J, I mean, he's the leader of this team. I mean, Dude's a great defender when he stays out of foul trouble. And it's just, we need guys like him, Triple J, and Ziegler, and even A-Dude. I mean, you got to keep these guys in the game. You got to get these extra minutes from Awaka, because when Awaka's playing well, this team usually wins. That's just, how it goes. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but when Awaka is, setting the tone down low in the paint, it opens up more, shots on the outside. So, and Adu, like you said, has been playing really well. So let's hope that continues, and we'll see as we move forward. Like I said, these games coming up aren't those, Purdue, Kansas, North Carolina games. They're going to be games you should win handily until SEC play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you just alluded to Awaka and his impact. I mean, he only had 16 minutes, but he's able to pull down 4 offensive rebounds. That's huge. He's a ferocious rebounder, especially on the offensive end. I mean, he battles and battles. And if he can put in 16 minutes, 7 rebounds, pick up some fouls, I know that's really not something you want to hear, but I think Awaka is going to be picking up fouls because that's just the way he plays, and that's fine because, that's what we need from him, is to be physical down low, and it obviously has an effect on the game.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So y'all feel pretty good now? I mean, we were getting a little nervous. Like, I know we played really good teams in Maui, and then George Mason isn't like, blue blood or anything. How do y'all feel so far through this season?
I'm still confident. I don't think – yes, you kind of have those red flags like kind of in the back of your head, like always pretty much, but I'm still confident. I think the SEC isn't as tough as what it looked like before the season started. And I think our very tough games are behind us already. So I'm not saying we don't have any more tough games, but I think our toughest games are behind us. And I think this team hopefully learned from what transpired the 3 games we lost and take it into conference play.
Yeah. I think a lot of the concerns that I had were kind of answered on Saturday. Number 1 being Vescovi. And I already said it looks like he's having fun again. Number 2 being, is Ziegler fully recovered from his injury? And all I needed to see to answer that was him diving on the floor for that steal and dishing it forward to Josiah for a dunk, which really turned the tide in the game. Got the crowd into it big time.
So are you still mad at Ziegler, Ryan?
No, he played amazing. He played absolutely amazing. And he's only 2 of 5 field goal, but he's not really somebody you're looking to put up a bunch of shots. He's more of the facilitator and the spark plug. And he's also he also showed some of that New York swagger, because after he got that steal, he stared down that dude after he passed it to Josiah for that dunk. I mean that's what I want to see from Ziegler. And then the last concern I had was, what are we going to do when we're kind of struggling on the offensive end? We're not really doing anything. Well, the answer to that is you ISO connect until they stop it. And when they stopped it, the offense was already back in the rhythm. And I mean, it's nice to have a get out of jail free card, which is ISO Dalton Connect, and he's going to make something happen.
It's just that other, dynamic that we didn't have last year. It's how many times did we get frustrated last year when we're winning games like 54-52, and there's just no shots from deep. It's if Scovey can't hit a three, then there's just no offense coming. And this year, we won against, granted, it's George Mason, but Connect didn't have a great offensive output against George Mason coming off of his little, injury. So the fact that we can still win games in multiple ways is pretty encouraging, and not having to rely on one person solely for the offensive output. And JJJ has really impressed me over the last month because he's just the one guy that can do everything.
Mm-hmm. And he sorry to interrupt you, Bryce. It's very impressive to me that he played 34 minutes and didn't pick up one foul. That's the kind of defense you're playing if you're a fifth-year senior and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's not like he wasn't playing aggressive. He got a steal.
Yeah.
And it's not like he doesn't play aggressively. And like you were talking about Ziegler, yeah, he's probably never gonna be our leading scorer or anything, but if he is, then we have bigger problems. If we're needing to lean on him for scoring, then we have other problems. But I don't think we're gonna need to. I think we've done a really fantastic job at balancing the roster overall. And like we've said, if there is a weakness, it's going to be the bigs. But, Adu and Awaka have really been stepping it up lately. So, like Jim said last week, Awaka being healthy makes a huge freaking difference.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, because if we don't have him, we don't have anyone that could dominate the paint.
We have a freshman. Yeah, we have to go way down the bench if Awaka can't play, and it just really thins out the roster.
Yeah, and that's something I noticed on Saturday too. We shortened our rotation a lot. We only played 8 people, and I think those are the 8 that you're going to see come conference play, because we only played Meshack, Gainey, and Awaka off the bench, and we were still able to take care of business.
Yep. So let's see. We have, and Illinois is not a bad team, guys. Terrence Shannon's obviously their best player, but that's a solid. They'll be a tournament team for sure, I think. And then
Were they not picked to win the Big Ten?
I think everybody had. I saw some people really, really like this Wisconsin team, but
yeah,
Illinois is a really good team.
Yeah,
so
it was probably Purdue. I forgot about Purdue. So.
Well, yeah, Purdue. I'm okay if we don't play Purdue again, but
yeah.
So next game, as Jim alluded to earlier, we should have a few winnable games here in a row. You have Georgia Southern. You're going to feel pretty good at that at TBA. And then going to Raleigh, taking on the Wolfpack.
Nope, Bryce, we're going to San Antonio for some reason.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Befuddling, but we're going to San Antonio to play NC State.
Which is weird.
I'm like, why? That's further away. That's way far from both campuses. I don't get that one, Danny.
Well, whatever home court advantage they would have had, they won't have in Texas. I can promise you that.
Yeah, it's just a big deal. So,
and they're not a bad team though. They've started off 6-2. So, but Georgia Southern should be a win. NC State, I think we both think should be a win. Tarleton State should be a win, and then Norfolk State, and then conference play starts in less than a month, guys.
Ole Miss could possibly be undefeated coming into Knoxville.
Yeah, that's less than a month until we get conference play, and then we'll really get a feel for how the team is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Ole Miss is certainly a surprise of the early basketball season, which I think we undersold them in our preview because we all forgot that they have Chris Beard now.
Well,
So,
they also haven't really played anybody.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean they haven't really played anybody, but they did beat the dog shit out of North Carolina State. So,
Yeah, which I think is a good thing for us. I think they did beat Memphis, and Memphis is not a bad team, and they just beat them by 3, and they were the home team. So, it's gonna be interesting. I don't think they're gonna be a problem, especially because we're the home team the first game. But I think if they come in undefeated, that play, Thompson Boylan Arena is gonna be popping.
we could be a top 10 team by the time that comes around, depending on what happens.
We should be at least close because it all depends on like what the teams ahead of us do. Kentucky's playing. I wouldn't say well, but they're winning games. So
Kentucky's also going to get the benefit of the doubt most of the time, just because of
their blue blood basketball team.
So, all right. So we feel pretty good about the boys, the basketballs. I know y'all are both going to have some hot opinions about the Lady Vols. Now, it's funny because if you listen to our last podcast, it was right after the Lady Vols got destroyed by Ohio State, and everybody was pretty pissed. And I asked you guys if you thought that Kelly was going to be safe until the end of the season. And I think me and Jim both made comments about there's no way we lose to Middle Tennessee. And sure enough,
yes, we did.
Sure enough, the next day they lost to Middle Tennessee, and it really wasn't even as close as the final score. It was pretty bad. And that's just embarrassing. I mean, you can't – the Lady Vols don't lose games like that.
That's your little sister. Like, your little sister came, didn't they play at Tennessee too?
Yeah.
I think they played in Huntsville for some reason. I don't know what college basketball both sides are doing with these silly neutral site games.
It's just it was a home game for us essentially.
Basically, yes.
And the thing is like that's just not a game that you don't lose that. That would be like South Carolina losing to Furman. Like it wouldn't happen. And it's just so frustrating. And then like today, they played again today. And they beat a terrible Eastern Kentucky team. I mean, they're not terrible, but it's Eastern Kentucky. Come on. They beat Eastern Kentucky by 9 points. It's just I don't know what to even say at this point. I've been probably of the three of us, I've probably been the most lenient on Kelly. But at this point, like I took up for Kelly by saying that the expectations are unreachable because everybody is expecting Pat Summitt, and that's not going to happen. But there is it's not mutually exclusive. Like there's a middle ground between being Pat Summitt and losing to MTSU.
For sure. I mean, it's the simple fact is you should have more than a 2-point, point differential against those two teams. Like this is Lady Vols basketball. And I've seen people say, well, this is what my brother said. He went to MTSU. Middle Tennessee normally wins their conference in women's basketball. I'm like, I don't care. Like, really? Like, this is the first time we lost them. We put them 23 times. And they ran the same offensive set over and over again to get an open three, like 3 or 4 feet behind the line. And
listen, I mean, like,
never adjusted.
MTSU is going to win their conference probably, and Eastern Kentucky probably will too. Eastern Kentucky dominates in the ASUN. But guess what? It's the Conference USA and the ASUN. These aren't power conferences that these schools are winning. Like these are conferences we should dominate. Like you said, Ryan, we're at 22-1 against MTSU.
Yep.
There's a reason for that. And not all of those Tennessee teams that beat MTSU were juggernauts. It's not like we have to have our A game against MTSU. I mean, what are we talking about here? Like that's so frustrating to me. Like I know they're not a bad team. But come on, it's Tennessee. The standard, you don't have to be Pat Summitt, Kelly, but you can't lose to MTSU.
Well, that's just like the Austin Peay game this year, though. I mean, Tennessee played absolutely horrendous and still found a way to win. And that's exactly how you're talking about the Lady Vols is you find your way to win this game, and she didn't. And after that loss, I don't care you beat Eastern Kentucky by 9. It's like whoop-de-doo. Like, I think Harper needs to be gone already. And you're going to end up going to, like, you're playing later in the year, you're going to play South Carolina, LSU. They're going to run you out of the gym. It's going to be embarrassing. I honestly think South Carolina might beat them by 40.
I mean, and today you were only up by 4 going into the fourth quarter.
Right.
I mean, it was a dogfight. Which
is sad. Very sad.
It's like we said last week, but before the abortion in Huntsville, like it's time. Danny, please pull the trigger. I don't care if we have to have a team manager coaching. Like, you can't go on like this.
I mean, like it's like you just said, Jim. If we're getting in dogfights with Eastern Kentucky, what do you think is going to happen when we play against Haley Van Lith and Angel Reese and like? It's going to be a bloodbath. And, if we fire Kelly, will that change this year? Probably not. But at this point, what are you going to get from Kelly that we haven't seen?
Yeah, I don't want to hear anybody say Rakeem Jackson makes this big of a difference, too. Like, you shouldn't need her to win by more than 9 or not lose to Middle Tennessee. It's not a Rakeem Jackson problem.
Well, I mean, you can use the men as an example. Like,
exactly.
Dalton Connect, he played, but he didn't play the full game and he didn't lead the team in scoring, and we still easily handled George Mason. Now, the women's team probably doesn't have the greatest depth. We all know that, but still, being without your best player shouldn't matter when you're playing against a group of 5 conferences and the Atlantic Sun teams. Like, it just shouldn't matter. So I just think, I don't know how you can look at this team and think that it's getting any better. I mean, it's getting progressively worse, or at best case, it's stagnating.
Yeah, which is not those either of those two situations, whichever one it is coach firing time.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is. It sucks, but
let's talk about something more uplifting.
Well, I wouldn't call this uplifting.
Yeah, I don't think we got much uplifting.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the meat and potatoes with this, transfer portal / I guess you call it recruiting cycle. I mean, other than Seton, we gotta worry about Boo Carter now. And Boo Carter's probably our biggest, I wouldn't say most talented. Like, I mean, the dude's unreal. The dude could play offense, defense, whatever. But I'm saying, star-wise, yeah, he's not the most, highest star-rated player we got. But in terms of peer recruiting and talent and, all that, shindig, Boo Carter we cannot lose Boo Carter.
Yeah, I think that's the number one priority right now, besides getting whatever else you can out of the portal and closing out the recruiting class you do have. I mean, that's priority number one.
Well, that's good. I mean, Staley, he committed and signed, and he shut down his recruitment, which is huge. With South Carolina really trying to get him to flip, but he signed the dotted line, and he wanted to be on Rocky Top, which is huge. And I'm pretty sure Boo is supposed to do his early signing day and start going to ball practices, and so it's good. We'll see, what transpires with that. I mean, I'm still on Mach 9, trying to not really worry about it, but
I mean, it's hard not to overreact this time of year, just because there's so much going on that we don't know. And, a lot of people's minds can be changed. It's more unpredictable than ever, just with the NIL and social media clout playing such a huge role. I do think we're going to get to the elephant in the room here in a second. But I do want to talk first about the tight end position. So I'm wondering what the plan is here, because like we saw Eccles, went to go reunite with Golesh, which is a huge get for Golesh. I think he's going to really build something down there, and I hope he does. I hope he does well. But
I don't think anyone expected him to stay, though.
Yeah, that was the talk on VolQuest, is that he was never really a really important recruit to us, but it's, now it becomes necessary to land Holden Stays. And
that's kind of my point, is like, I'm not really too torn up about it. And nobody on campus, from what I've heard, nobody on campus has lost sleep over that. But what's the plan? What's the alternative plan? Because we had Justin Jolie, who was coming into town, and I know we kind of memed it, but I really did want him. I was at the UConn game, and you can tell if a player is a Power 5 guy, and I think Jolie's really going to help somebody out. So we decided not to visit with him because we're visiting, we did the Holden Stays visit, but Holden Stays is going to a couple other places.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get Holden Stays, the tight end room is looking pretty thin.
Yeah, we're going to have to hold off Washington, playoff team, and Oklahoma, top 10 team. Like, it's going to be a tall task to land him, and we really need to now, like you just alluded to.
Yeah, the fact that, man, Jolie's such a good kid too. It's kind of heartbreaking to see a kid that wants to be an Orange, and the coaches, I guess you could say they let him go, and I think letting him go, or I don't know, would you guys call it letting go? Because you necessarily did, telling him that you were going a different way.
Well, I don't think he cares if we say this, but like he literally said in DMs that he was going to be a Vol if the opportunity was presented to him. So, literally, if it was his decision, he would be a Vol next year. So that's kind of disheartening, especially if we don't get Holden Stays, because you have a guy that's a very quality player who wanted to be a Vol, and we basically big timed him.
Yeah. It's basically like you got a Christmas bonus from your job, and then instead of going and cashing it, you went to a slot machine.
Yeah.
Especially what we did. So you got to hope, you get three of the same in a sense.
Well, now hopefully though, I'd like to think I'm going to give Heupel the benefit of the doubt. Like, hopefully he knows that there's something coming, or else they wouldn't have done that. Because why would you not just take a visit with everybody? Like, at this time of year.
You got to remember they have that visit thing going on with the punishment we got, to where we could only have a certain amount.
Yep.
So that's probably part of it, to where they're like, you know what, let's not use it if we know we're not going to go that route.
Right, but I'm just saying, I feel like if you don't know you're getting another tight end, they probably would want to meet with as many as possible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but they're also looking at the UCLA kid too.
Yep.
Yeah, which, we'll see what goes. Like I said, I don't want to completely overreact, because you don't know. Stars aren't everything. What they did last year, who knows if they'll do the same thing in a different system. It's still early too. Who knows what will happen, but I do think it is a little bit disappointing, obviously. It's like in NFL free agency, like when your team, a week goes by and your team hasn't signed anybody and you're like kind of pissed. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do bad next year. It just is, it's just frustrating. Like, you want to see some big names come in, and especially what you see, like, Jim, we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording. We like a couple of the moves Kentucky's made so far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kentucky knows where they're weak at, and they're going after it, and that's what frustrates a lot of the Vol fan base. And I know I'm talking for them, but where we're weak at, and where what's gonna not suck, but we're gonna be weaker than we were this year, and we're not seeing the people come in and take those visits, or we're talking to this guy, and all that. And I'm not saying 5-star guys, but the DB room, we need starting DBs because all of our guys are young. Not saying they're not going to be good. I'm just saying, you need those experienced guys, and it doesn't even look like we're talking to any.
Yeah. The good news is it's still early in this window. Stays he talked to Volquist. It was a good report from the visit, but at the end he said, "I'm still going to take my other 2 visits." So we really need to get him, and and we also had a visit from a Middle Tennessee kid over the weekend in the secondary. He's a corner from Innsworth, not a transfer, but just a normal recruit. He was under the radar throughout most of the fall, but now he's really trending up on the recruiting rankings. And he has a visit left with Missouri, and it looks like it's down to us in Missouri. He's still going to visit them, and he said he's going to commit, sign, do whatever during the early signing date. So that's somebody I would like to see us land. His name is Jaron Sensabaugh from Innsworth. And then there's a lot of other names that I've seen that they're talking to as well. So I think the big word right now for me is patience from the fan base. But the word for the coaching staff would be urgency, because you got to do something soon.
Well, it's just like you look at Dabo in the transfer portal. He doesn't do anything, and all the teams that dip into it are getting better. And that's like how we were talking about Kentucky. Kentucky is getting better with the transfer portal, because I think Vandergriff, or whatever his name is going to be better than Leary. Leary was just, after his injury, he wasn't the same. And I think this guy is going to come in. I mean, he's coming from the number 1 program in the country, former 5-star talent, and I think that's a huge pickup for them.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like Ryan said, it's still a little early, but again, there's a lot of guys on the top. So I was looking at the 247 transfer portal rankings, and probably like 10 of the top 100 have officially come out. Obviously, the big ones, Dylan Gabriel going to Oregon, which we weren't going to be in the running for Dylan Gabriel, I'm just saying. And then Kentucky got a couple guys, but there's still like most of the top guys haven't officially committed to anybody yet. So, I mean, there's still a ton of potential out there. Walter Nolan hasn't signed, but Walter Nolan also wants quarterback money. So, Jim,
but that's a big position. That's a big position we need.
It is. And especially, like, I don't know, though, if they'll feel the need to dish out that much for Nolan, especially if Norman Lott and Big O come back. It's kind of like they might not think it's that necessary.
I think you're going to need another probably 1 or 2 at least, because, I mean, Big O, he looked – I wouldn't say he looked bad this year, but I don't know about you guys, but it looked like he was a little bit out of shape.
He ghosted a little bit, yeah. Well, I guess we should talk about this. We had a couple more notable names enter the portal. Now, Tyler Barron he obviously is the biggest name, and he did the same thing last year, but this time I think it's probably for real. It kind of seems like he just wants to get a bag. And then Danico Slaughter entered the portal. Who gives a shit? I don't understand why anybody was upset about that. He's not good. I mean, I was joking. I was joking with Ryan, but I'm kind of not joking. Like, I feel like Danico's 2 options are go to a Power 5 school and sit the bench, or go be a starter at Kent State or Toledo. Like, I don't think Danico is good enough to start in the SEC. So I don't really care about that.
I could definitely see him. I mean, look at Warren Burrell. I mean, he committed to Georgia Tech earlier today, and I think they're going to be, going to schools more like that to, they'll play, and it's a little bit easier of a, job or task is to play on teams like that.
One of those lower Power 5 schools that, win 6 or 7 games a year, that's where they'll go.
And I think there's a little bit, though, that, we don't know about yet because this isn't like confirmed. I'm just saying, but they probably know that they're not going to be playing next year, and because they probably told them something because there's no way, because Danico Slaughter would have been a starter at Tennessee. I'm sorry, but that's the way this program's been run. Since Heupel's been here, he's the senior guy. He's going to start. And
I mean that's a good point.
That's the reason. That's the reason that I'm not concerned about who we have leaving so far, because 3 of them are in the secondary. Like it's pretty unbecoming of our fans who are concerned about people leaving that a secondary you trashed all year and you got players leaving from it. Like I don't see that as a big deal. I mean, it's just like you said, Jim. Like if they're leaving, it's going to open up spots for other guys. Like, and that's what we all wanted to see throughout the year. So I don't see it as a bad thing necessarily.
The biggest spot we got to go for is offensive line. I mean, John Campbell coming back is gigantic. Not guaranteed, but looks to be in a good spot. Cooper Mays and Spraggins, to potentially come back, and you need a right tackle, and that's where you got to spend your money. Is you got to go get that stud offensive tackle and an inside lineman, and Tennessee could be dangerous, especially if those 3 guys are for sure coming back. I mean, if you could protect Nico and give Sampson those holes to run through, which we know he can, and I think this Tennessee's offense is going to look, I'm not going to say like last year's, but it's going to look better than it did this year.
Yeah, for sure. So on a positive note, about the only good thing that happened last week, Keenan Peely is officially coming back now.
Hell yes. I love that dude.
That's basically a transfer portal edition. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's huge because even though it was a quarter, 2 quarters, whatever it was against Virginia, our defense looked like a brick house. And I think a lot of it had to do with him out there flashing the signals for everybody. Like, I think that's a big get. It's an experienced linebacker. And that's not a position you want to be inexperienced at. And we saw that throughout the year with Herring struggles and then, the other linebackers who played. I mean, it's just not where you want to be inexperienced. So I think that's a really big deal.
What was big, though, with Herring playing this whole year is that I'm not necessarily worried when Peely comes out for a break.
Exactly.
And I think Herring he wasn't great, but he, showed that he can play. And I think was huge for us for next year. I mean, Peely's going to come back. That dude's insane. He's going to be awesome, especially with Beasley gone. And Arian Carter, that dude's going to be a beast, man. I mean, he's going to heal up this offseason, and he's probably going to be a starting linebacker next year.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point because, for all the inexperience you had last year, they'll have the experience coming into this year and a guy that, is really, really experienced to kind of lead them along the way because people, I don't think, people talk about this enough, but we're losing Aaron Beasley off this team too. So you're getting Peely back and not relying on those 2 young people, as much experience as they gained is a big deal.
Exactly. And we're not for sure positive that, depending on how his grades come back in the draft combine or whatever, but Wright can come back.
Jalen?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he could. I think he's wanting that bag though. So
yeah, but he's worth it. Look at his year this year. With Sampson, it'd be a Wright and Sampson show,
which would be awesome. I mean, even if it's not, it's going to be a Sampson and Selden show or Sampson and Lewis show. I mean, I think we're looking pretty good at the running back position.
I wouldn't say Lewis. I think Lewis is going to play a little bit, but he'll probably be focused on the special teams like Selden was this year, and I think Selden will play a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean that's just like you said earlier. It's kind of how we do things in Knoxville now. We roll the experience.
Dude, Peyton Lewis, let me just tell you right now, Peyton Lewis is going to be nuts. He is going to be so good for the Vols.
Yeah.
Same thing with Selden. Selden's great. It's just, he's young, and he didn't get any playing time this year, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially we touched on it earlier before we started recording, too. I think Sampson, we all feel pretty good that he'll be back next year. I mean, I think he would have entered if he was planning on it.
But
I do want to talk about it. So we kind of got blue balled this week. Everybody was kind of talking themselves into Seton coming to Tennessee. And then, he pulled a fast one and went to Colorado. And I know this is going to sound like tremendous amounts of copium, but now that I, think about it objectively, I'm glad he's not coming. I mean,
me too.
Would it be cool to have a player like that's that talented? Yes, but talent isn't everything. I mean, the dude played at 3 different high schools. And
so did you see why he didn't come, though?
Yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah, about the text to the mother or something saying don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about something. I thought you were talking about
No. So what happened is they didn't say what school it came from, but I guess whoever was talking to the parents of Seton and said, "Oh, don't drink the Kool-Aid that they're talking about down there about Colorado," and apparently Coach Prime took that and ran with it and said, "Oh, you know what they're saying, right? Like they're talking about because we're black," and that's apparently it's not confirmed, but that's what it's out there, and I don't see how that isn't the reason why we didn't get him. And I'm not saying I know it's our school in general, but it's very possible.
Well, if that's true, then that's even stupider, and that is pretty telling in my opinion.
No, I agree. I'm like you. I think it was great that he didn't come here.
I mean, the dude, his interview that he did after he committed, I mean, the dude has a room temperature IQ. Like, that, I'm fine with him going somewhere else. I mean, clearly, he just doesn't. He gave off a real cocky vibe. I didn't like the whole calling himself the savior thing.
Oh my god! Yeah, just casual blasphemy, but talk like related to football. Like really? Like,
I mean, I just don't like the arrogance of that. It just seems he seems very narcissistic and about himself. And, I mean, if he wants to go win 5 games and hang out with rappers, that's his prerogative, I guess.
Yeah, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, he just seems like a clout chaser. And, I know this is an old-fashioned take, but you're an offensive lineman. Just shut up and, don't let your quarterback get sacked. This is not the position to be a clout chaser. I don't – the reason – people thought he was going to L.A. to announce his recruitment is because he was working out. It turns out he was going to be on Undisputed. I don't.
Yeah, he's doing the media rounds. He wants the Rolex and he wants to hang out with The Rock and Migos, and that's fine. He'll when Dion leaves after this year, after they win 5 games, we'll see what he does. I'm sure he'll be one of those guys that hops every year. I mean, that's what he did in high school.
Yeah, it's like you said when we first started talking about it, I'm like, this sounds like a lot of copium, but I don't think it's a wrong take to have. It just doesn't seem like the type of player that is good to have in a program.
Well, and I wouldn't have been as annoyed. If he would have just picked Ohio State over us, I wouldn't have been annoyed about it because it's okay, I can understand that. Ohio State is never bad. Ohio State is a perennial top team. If you think you have a better chance to win there, so be it. But the fact that he picked Colorado just pissed me off because I know it's just a clout-chasing, narcissistic move.
Well, there was no football reason to go there. They don't have an offense coordinator or an offensive line coach. It's obvious move of, you just want attention.
Yeah, so like Dan Lanning said before Oregon played Colorado, they're over there to make memes. We're over here to win games. So whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, and there's so many people in the portal to where I'm not worried about it. I mean, and like we said, I mean, there's so much time to where there's guys that are going to enter that aren't even in it yet. So, yeah, I'm not Raw fan base. Do not be worried about anything right as yet. It's not. Don't be sweating right now. But going back to the Colorado offensive line, so apparently it's going to be Seaton, freshman. Then it's going to be a Jacksonville State lineman, an Indiana lineman, a UTEP lineman, and a Houston lineman. So, still think probably 5 to 6 games they'll win.
Yeah, well, doesn't sound like a recipe for success on the offensive line.
No, and it didn't work last year, and it won't. Like, here's the thing. So, the Cover 3 podcast on CBS, which is great, by the way, they were kind of ahead of the whole hype train with Colorado. Like, when Colorado beat a couple – which, by the way, everybody was a Colorado fan for like a month because – and then the teams that they beat, we found out actually suck ass. Like, nothing that they did this year was really impressive. But all the guys that they got via the transfer portal last year are guys that nobody else wanted. Like, other than Shador and Travis Hunter, nobody on their starting lineup would start for anybody else. They have a bunch of mid players. But
now, to be honest, with what you were saying, though, about Ohio State,
yeah,
like, think about Ohio State. No offense, but their schedule is way easier than their fans make it to be.
Oh, for sure.
He would have a better chance of playing in a national title game at Ohio State.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, I definitely wouldn't hold it against him. I mean, I'd be upset, but if you're choosing Ohio State over Tennessee, like, I can understand the argument. There is no football argument if you pick Colorado over Tennessee, though.
Nope.
But anyway, I don't even want to talk about him anymore. He's in the past. He wasn't meant for this team, and I won't be that guy that doesn't wish him luck. I really do wish everybody luck because not everyone's going to come to Tennessee anyway. I know for a fact he's not going to be playing for a national title in his college career. So, other than that, I mean, what else do you guys want to talk about? I mean, there's there's a lot of interesting names in the portal that that we were talking about, but now we're not. Like Juice Wells. Juice Wells is not going to be on Tennessee.
No. I mean, apparently he had a visit, and there was no report from the visit, so that's not a good sign. We could probably write him off.
Well, he wants a lot of money.
Yeah. He probably came to campus and asked for negotiators. It's probably what happened. So
he seems like a Lane Kiffin type.
Yeah. So the Austin Price of VolQuest put out 2 names today that Tennessee might look to offer in the coming days. Kamari Ramsey, safety from UCLA, and then Chris Brazel, wide receiver to Lane. Those are 2 names.
Oh, dude, he's nasty.
No, he's sick. So he's 247 Sports did a podcast talking about like group of 5 guys that could make the jump, and he was the number 1 receiver that they had. And a lot of people, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I watched a lot of Tulane, but a lot of people that know a lot about football like him a lot.
Yeah. So if we can offer him and get him to campus, I think that would be a fantastic get. And
that won't be like a very sexy move, but it'll be under the radar, very solid pickup.
It's just like you said earlier, not everything's about stars, not everything's about where you've played in the past. It's about the fit on the team you're going to and the trust you have in the coaches. So
McDonald, is he coming back? Did he announce that yet?
He hasn't announced anything that I've seen yet, which makes me believe he's probably going to come back. But, it's like I said earlier, we're still early on in the process of this new era of college football we've come to know. So
I love it. I know a lot of people don't, but I think it's awesome. Like,
it is awesome, but a lot of kids leave for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, but they're just learning the lesson a couple years earlier than they would have. I mean, it's like the people who declare early for the draft, and then they get drafted like the 6th round, and then they play like 1 or 2 years. It's just they're learning it earlier now, and I'm all for people getting their money. Like I'm never going to shame a guy for getting as much money as he can, especially when you play a violent sport like football.
Yeah, and especially when the coaches have had free reign for the last 100 years to go wherever they want. They never had to sit out a year, and they left for money too. So, it's just. I think the big thing to me is that there's a lot of overreaction in these few weeks at this time of year. There's a lot of overreaction both ways, positive or negative. It's just you just got to take everything with a grain of salt this time of year and just hope your team can come out of it with a roster that's worthy of competing the following year. It's just how I look at it.
Anything else y'all want to hit?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all. I think, what do you guys think about this game coming up? I guess we could do a little prediction since we won't hit a podcast before the game this Tuesday. Coming off this big win against Illinois, what are you guys feeling about this game
Georgia
coming
Southern.
up? Yep.
Should be a blowout. I'd like to see another solid all-around effort. Hopefully Connect doesn't have to score 25.
Yep.
And, yeah,
Well, listen, though, this Georgia Southern team did lose to a team we beat by 30. So,
Yep.
Michigan State beat them 86-56.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think they're very good. We shouldn't need – hopefully this is a game where several freshmen are playing.
Yeah, I want to buy a huge spotlight and put a signal over it that says DJ Jefferson for this game. Please get him some minutes. I want to see what this kid can do because I said it on the last one. He's one of the most athletic people on the team. All you got to do is go and watch our One Fly We All Fly before every game. He's doing it most of the time.
Yeah, and I mean, if he don't get minutes, man, he could end up leaving.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want a player who has that much talent to leave. I mean, the transfer portal exists in college basketball too. He is a player that we need to start paying more attention to within the program. This guy's good, and I think if we can get him in the fold, it's just another guy that can make a difference come conference play in March. So I really want to see him on Tuesday night, and I really want to see a lot more names too. I mean, Freddie DeLeon is a guy I've been harping on. I think he's going to be terrific, and I'd like to see the two freshman posts get in there and get some run as well. So what I'm looking for on Tuesday is a lot of development of the future of this program.
There you have it.
We got a lot of stuff to look forward to, I think. So,
Absolutely.
all right, guys.
I had one thing. I want to shout out everybody affected by the tornadoes yesterday. Thoughts and prayers with everybody. I know we're trying to, Bryce, if you want to speak to this, we're going to try to put something together, raise some money for these people because around Christmas, it's just awful. I know there was 3 tornadoes within 30 minutes of my house. So I was lucky. Everybody I know is okay, but there's a lot of people who aren't. So I just want to shout out those folks affected.
Yeah, my hometown got pretty destroyed, pretty bad. Probably the worst it's been since I've been alive. There's a lot of destruction. It's you hate to see it anytime, but especially right before Christmas, it really sucks. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing something for people. We'll have further developments when the time comes. So stay tuned for that. And then I wanted to once again just give a shout out to our sponsor. It means a lot to be able to do this and then have awesome companies like Grade A Grounds that are supporting it and then also supporting the local East Tennessee community. So if you like coffee, I really recommend Grade A Grounds. It's great coffee for a great cause. Go Vols.
Yeah. Go Vols.
Go Vols.